going on? It's Ash here coming at you today in Clash Royale. I hope this video finds you all doing well on what is an incredibly humid and hot day here in southern New England. Where are you guys watching from? Let me know. I love checking in with you guys. I'm still amazed by how international my audience is. But anyway, I'll stop rambling. The point of today's video is to shed some light on a troubling development in the community. A lot of pros, by far the majority of pros that I follow on Twitter, are unhappy with the state of competitive Clash Royale. Now, this video is going to be focusing on the issue, focusing on my opinions, and then focusing on my solution. I couldn't bring 15 pros on to talk about this, so what I want to do is share the words straight from their tweets verbatim. So we're going to start this episode by going through about a dozen tweets from pro players and kind of outline what the problem is. Then I'll share my thoughts, and then I'll share my solution. Then I'll read your feedback, then I'll give it to the Clash Royale team, and then I'll share their response with you guys. That's going to be the game plan in today's video. This video is not intended to spread negativity or cause drama in any fashion. This video is to address a problem that I'm personally a little bit concerned about, okay? So now that we get that out of the way, let's move to the first tweet here. C. McHugh. You guys know who C. McHugh is, probably one of the most well-known players in the entire game. He said, not really enjoying CR anymore. I don't think I can force myself to stream it until they fix the game. Tag says, thoughts on the competitive state of Clash Royale. I'm a person that is addicted to improving and analyzing what I can do better in every facet of my life. It irks me to no end to go into a replay, analyze it, and only be able to conclude that I should have picked rock over scissors. I sincerely hope the balance team fixes the card interactions that cause the rock, paper, scissors element in the game. If they can't do it on their own, they should consult with the top CCGS players that attended their event or listen to other pro feedback. The situation needs to be remedied soon. Many players, especially pros, are getting discouraged by the meta and proceeding to quit or take breaks. As a side note, I'm not going anywhere, essentially. I put up this poll yesterday. Rock, paper, scissors, the Clash Royale meta is fairly diverse compared to the good old days. Is this bad or good for the game? Opinions? Well, 59% of you, 4,000 or so, voted, said bad, too much luck involved. 41% said good, I love diversity. Now, I imagine a lot of folks, me included, kind of fell a little bit into both camps, and we'll talk about that more in a bit. Ahsoka responded, I've been pretty vocal about the direction of balance for the game for a while now. Nothing's gonna change if only a few are speaking. Naders follows up by saying, hear, hear. Supercell needs to start listening to thought leaders in the community instead of relying solely on their bleep win-loss rate stats. Okay, not really bleeping stupid, guys. Just trying to have a little bit of fun. So, Oxalate says, Oxalate, the winner of North America CCGS, he says, I don't even feel like it being diverse is the problem. It's the fact that cards like Heal literally 100% counter poison decks. Not fun at all. Colton W83 says, some diversity is nice, but steps need to be taken to make it this to where the player that plays better in the match wins 90% plus of the time. Surgical Goblin echoes the same statement. He says in CCGS, people could tell what player would win just after seeing the matchup. Maybe for 10% the bad matchup won, but the other 90% would win. And we have St. Bellican. The game is starting to get boring. Not sure what can be done to fix it. Well, I have an idea, Bellican. Listen, hear me out, man. Hear me out. Only thing I can enjoy right now are anything competitive, leagues, and brackets. Hazard said, my thoughts on heal and spell management and ways to change the game to make it more balanced. Thanks for reading. No problem, Haz. He says, I think the best way to nerf heal is to either make it heal slower so cards like poison can kill through it in combination with, say, a log, or make it so it heals faster, but a little bit less for a little less time, so that troops like minions and muskies can't just linger in poison endlessly. It is very hard to nerf a card like Heal, as unless it's absolutely useless, it will be strong with decks like Three Musketeer. Another way to nerf heal is to nerf the Battle Ram, a card in the meta that is benefited by heal, but also dominates in other decks. I feel like a simple speed reduction or making the Battle Ram take longer to charge up would be a very simple yet effective buff, making it less, or nerf, making it less stressful for both higher and lower, I think, level play, allowing top players to counter Battle Ram methodically instead of just throwing cards at it, hoping to kill it fast enough. This will also make decks like Bridge Spam less threading, which is very needed. Maybe threatening or threading, maybe. Hey, maybe they thread. So, but there is one pro. I have to give both sides of the story. Batman here says, people used to complain about the Goizen meta, and it was boring, and only one or two decks that were being used sucks. That situation sucks. Now people complain about diversity. So I think that Batman is onto something a little bit there too. Just again, to give both sides of the story there. Certainly people who just complain about a diverse meta aren't taking into account that, you know, diverse meta is good for the casual gamer in a lot of ways. It gives a lot of options for strong decks that they can use, but at the same time, it's bad for competitive play if there's so many hard counters to certain decks where you go into the match, both players are competitive and really good, and it's already decided before it starts. So that is essentially the problem, and one of the big culprits is obviously the heal spell, right? So heal spell's funny, right? Because heal's not even that good. It's just really good in a couple really small situations, like Three Musketeers or on minions or Battle Ram, right? Basically on a spam, after a spam push. So heal's a tricky one, and it's interesting too because the Clash Royale team put the heal on the ruled out list, meaning that they were never going to add heal to the game for some of these reasons that the pros are echoing right now. So strangely enough, they changed their opinion. The reason they changed it, actually I have the screenshot of that as well. Let me go ahead and put this here. This is from their last AMA. What made you decide that the heal mechanic would now benefit the game in a balanced way, whereas before it was ruled out? Now the official Supercell response was, initially we thought that the healing mechanics would promote more defensive gameplay, but after prototyping and playtesting the heal spell, we soon saw that almost everything used heal purely on offense to bolster an attack, and it encouraged more interesting and offensive gameplay. So quite the opposite of our initial feelings. That's interesting because they're right? I mean, the heal is only used on offense. Heal is not used on defense. It doesn't slow the game up per se. So I think that two things can be correct at the same time here. I think that it is only used on offense. It does bolster up offensive situations in the game. But at the same time, I'm not sure it's good for the game, the heal mechanic, because it's the first spell that hard counters other spells, such as poison, right? So let's talk a little bit about what can be done about heal before we move into the larger problem, because I think there's a big larger problem and a relatively easy solution. So that's the big thing we're leading up to, right? So before we get to that, the heal spell, what I would do is rework heal. I wouldn't nerf it, and I wouldn't get rid of it altogether. Getting rid of it sounds tempting, but I don't think that the Clash Royale team would do that, so I don't want to just suggest it and move on. I think reworking it to make it only cost 2, or even to make it the first 1-cost cycle card in the game, but make it just like an instant, very small heal. Very small, like a 50 HP heal. Basically, it would still be useful because it would cycle. It would be the first cycle spell in the deck. You could use it in fast decks all over the place, and it would give those, you know, it would be beneficial in small situations, right? However, maybe that's not the right answer. Maybe keeping it at 3 and doing something like Hazard suggested, just making it take longer or making it take less time with less heal. I mean, there's a few options. It needs to be play tested by the team here. This is something that I can't just say what the exact solution is on my own. All I know is that something probably needs to change with the heal spell. So moving on, I think that the Night Witch needs another nerf. You know, it's a bummer to say that because some people are just unlocking the Night Witch, and it's really not fair that, you know, they unlock a card, they get all excited about it, everybody's been using it in every single deck, and all of a sudden it's nerfed again. It's a bummer, but that's what balance changes are at the same time for the overall health of the game. So I do think that the Night Witch needs another nerf, which is unfortunate because you don't want to nerf it into oblivion. At the same time, the Night Witch usage rate is still sky high in the CCGS, sky high at the top of the leaderboard and ladder. It's an issue, you know, and it really lends itself to the spam tactic because you can add a Night Witch in back of the Giant, you can add a Night Witch in back of the Golem, you can add Night Witch, you can't even Lightning a Night Witch because, you know, it will produce all those bats behind that Giant, behind that tank, and obviously it mitigates some of the effectiveness of the Night Witch if she's dead, but still for 4 elixir you're going to get, you know, a trail of bats behind that tank at the very least, okay? And that's in exchange for the 6 elixir Lightning. Anyway, I think the Night Witch does need a nerf. I'm not sure about Battle Ram yet. It could probably use a little tiny nerf, but I'm not sure if Battle Ram, personally, is the issue here. So I'm going to leave the balance changes to the team and to the pro players to suggest. But I want to move on with my big idea, big picture here. Because small picture, people aren't happy with the meta. People are never happy with the meta, I feel like. You know, people will always complain, right? And some of it's that bandwagon mentality. A big player complains, and then everybody starts complaining. However, I think there are big issues here. The rock, paper, scissors does seem to be more prominent than it ever has been before in the game right now. So I think that that's a competitive issue. And me personally, although I'm not a competitive player, I'm not playing in these big money tournaments, I do cover these big money tournaments. And I want them to succeed because my channel I've put the flag down as covering these competitive players, their accomplishments, their decks, their goals. That's what my channel's all about. So I need the competitive aspect of this game to succeed personally, egotistically, selfishly. And of course, I love the game. So seeing all these players upset, kind of, besides Batman, kind of makes me upset. So how are we going to solve this? And I just want to see good gameplay, and I want to see this a viable esport more than anything. You know, just taking a quick step back, is I was part of the crew for CCGS, and I was also very vocal against some of the things that they were doing. I think they put on a great production, NGE, the company that handled it. I think they did a great job at the end of the day. I think they fixed their solutions, or they came up with quick fixes and solutions to the problems that kind of plagued things really early going on. I'm not sure if they loved the fact that I was so vocal against things, but that's my nature. I want things to succeed. I do it not out of being a troll, but I always try to come up with a solution. And then I'm open to feedback, and I'm happy to admit when I'm wrong too. So that's what I'm doing here. So the next update, I still think it's going to be a new tournament system. That's just based on little, you know, Easter eggs that the Clash Royale team has left us in previous AMAs and stuff like that. They did say that tournaments are a big priority for them in the last forum Q&A, which was months ago now. So I do think it's going to be a new tournament system. So I think this is a great opportunity to borrow a page from Magic the Gathering, my favorite card game. So I love Magic the Gathering. I don't play it too much anymore, but I used to be a big player. Not a great player, but a big player, meaning I played it a lot. So you can see Magic the Gathering is a competitive Magic the Gathering, which is a card game, is structured. You don't have to know anything about the game, by the way, to get this analogy, but it's structured so that the competitive modes of Magic the Gathering offer different formats. So you can see standard, a booster draft, a sealed deck, think a blind deck challenge, standard, which is using the most recent cards, modern, and commander, and there's others too. But we don't have to get into all the Magic the Gathering stuff. But the idea is that Magic the Gathering's been around for about 20-something years, more than 20 years. I played it when I was 13, and I'm an old man now. So why can't Clash Royale do the same thing in a tournament format, right? And there's a lot of good things that can come out of this, not just pleasing the highest level players, much more than that. So what I would submit is we have a new tournament system. We have 3 tournament modes, not formats, modes. The 3 modes are going to be bracket, round robin, or traditional custom tournament like we have now, the one that you hop into for an hour. And we're going to have 6 formats. You can choose your mode and your format for each of your tournaments that you want to host. We have Legacy, which is every card in the game. Pretty simple. We have Standard, which are all cards in the game without RNG. So basically without Graveyard, but that would open up the door for Supercell to add more cards with RNG if they wanted to. So basically no random cards, no Graveyard for right now. So basically only one banned card as it stands right now. We have draft. Draft is pretty easy and it's pretty fun. You draft all your cards, you enter in a tournament, you play with the cards that you drafted. Now, it would be cool if you could draft even more cards. Maybe you draft 20 cards, and then you can make 3 decks, and those will be your play decks. Blind decks. It's another self-explanatory thing. They just give you blind decks. They give you a deck, and you play a tournament with that deck, a bracket tournament, whatever. And these are cool, too, because different skill sets. They promote different skill sets. Not everybody is a great player just using, for example, you look at some ladder players, they suck at tournaments. You look at some tournament players, and they're not very good on ladder. But that's not very diverse. It's pretty much the same thing. But you add in these new game modes, and I think that people who aren't necessarily the best players, maybe this guy right here, right? I think we'd have the opportunity to actually play and find out modes of play that we are really good at, or we are better at than the traditional tournament level standards. So blind decks is one. Ban mode, where each player can ban certain cards. And modern. Modern would be only cards released in the last year. I'm not sure how that would work. I'm not sure if a year is the correct time frame, because essentially, even though a year sounds like a long time, there would constantly be cards cycling out of what you could use in the modern format. For example, you wouldn't be able to use Hog or Giant, 2 big win conditions, but you could use, you know, the Mega Knight when he comes out, stuff like that. I'm not sure if we have enough cards right now to substantiate that game mode, but that's just an idea, just my ideas, right? So that's what I propose, and that's what I plan to propose to the Clash Royale team. Now, I'm not saying that I carry any weight or they could give one iota what Clash with Ash, what CWA Mobile Gaming thinks. But I have to try, right? Because I do care about the game, and I do think that they care. I just think that we need to communicate it in a more structured way. So I'll work with other guys in the community and maybe propose something like this. If you guys like it, if you guys don't, then let's talk about what we do like. Let's talk about a good game plan that we can suggest to the team, so we can make this game not just viable for 2 years, but viable for 20 years, like Magic the Gathering. And some of you guys might be like, yeah, right, Ash, a mobile game, 20 years. But hey, Clash of Clans, you know, whether you want to believe it or not, it's still going strong after 5 years. The MMO that I used to play, EverQuest, is still going strong after 20 years. I truly believe that Clash Royale could be in the same boat. These small decisions and big decisions that are made early on can carry a lot of weight in the long term. So guys, that is going to do it. Those are my thoughts. I'm going to stop rambling for just a second and let you guys go and digest all these things that I've thrown at you and give me some feedback in the comments. So guys, huge shout out to my YouTube partner, Bren Chong. Thank you so much, Bren, for everything you do for this community. You are a superstar. I really appreciate it. Make sure you give him some love on social media. You can see the links to his social in the description below. Guys, thank you so much for watching, and as always, take care, guys.